Morning student, today we are going to revise the lesson The Revelation of Medieval India. Dear student, as you know that the word medieval is specially derived from the Latin word medium or avium. It means belonging to the medieval ages. You know, Indian history is specially classified into three important parts. First, ancient history, second, medieval history, and the third, modern history. In this year, we are going to get the information about the medieval history. Medieval period is specially lies between the ancient periods and modern period. It just focus it just focuses on the political life, society, religion, and economical condition of medieval period. Here it is the subdivision of medieval period which is given to you here. This medieval period is specially classified into two important parts: the early medieval period and the late medieval period. The early medieval period is considered from 700 CE to 1200 CE, and the late medieval period is considered from 1200 CE to 1750 CE. Here we are going to get the information about nomenclature of India. India was specially famous by the various names in the medieval society. Suppose for example, in ancient history, India was specially famous by the name of Bharatvarsh or land of Bharat. There was also another name, it was specially used there for India. It is nothing but Jambudip. In the medieval period, some Persian people as well as Arab people, they came here in India and they used the word Hind or Hindustan for our country in 11th century. Then Delhi Sultanate rulers, Mughal rulers, they also came here in India and used the same term for our country. It is Hindustan. Then there was a scholar, his name was Minas Siraj. He came here in India in 13th century and he used the same word Hindustan to describe the particular land or the land in the modern period. The land is specially concerned with Punjab, Haryana regions and the land between the two famous rivers such as Ganga and Yamuna. It was a period of Delhi Sultanate. Then in 16th century, Babur came here in India and he also used the same term for our country to denote the geographical area, natural vegetation, cultural inhabitants of subcontinent. Then during the British Raj, Hindustan became the synonymous for India. Then some of the Greek people were there. These Greek people used the word India for our country. They were the first who used India for our country, and this word is specially derived from the Greek word Indoi. It means the region beyond the river Indus and Sindhu. It is a Sanskrit name of the river. So this is the information about nomenclature of India. Now we have to understand the sources for reconstructing history. Dear student, as you know that whenever the historians wants to present some facts in front of the people, so they need to get proper evidences. They required strong evidences to present their fact. So it is their responsibility to be careful while presenting the fact. So here it's the information about the sources of medieval history. Here there are some sources of medieval history which are mentioned to here: archaeological sources and literary sources. So whenever we think about archaeological sources, we must have to include here some of the important things such as inscriptions, some coins, then sculptures and painting. Some of the monuments and buildings are also there. These four important things are considered as an important source for reconstructing history. Apart from this, literary sources are also there. These literary sources can be used to reconstruct the history, such as chronicles, autobiographies and biographies, then accounts of foreign travelers and indigenous literature. So here is a classification that we have already discussed here. Here it is another PPT that we need to understand. Here there are some inscriptions or epigraphic material which is mentioned to here. So it can be used to reconstruct the history. Here is information about archaeological sources. So whenever we think about the archaeological sources, we must have to include here temples, coins, forests, forts, then palaces, then some of the inscriptions, then mosques, then various types of tools you can use it there, then utensils, then sculptures, then various types of weapons and paintings. So all these things can be used. They are archaeological sources. Now we have to understand why these inscriptions are important there. Here it is the importance of inscription that is clearly mentioned to here. Inscriptions are specially used as a treasure house for the historical data. Then second point we need to understand it here. We always get the information about language and script through the inscription, so that's why it is important there. It also provide valuable information about royal proclamations, means a particular order it was given by the king during the medieval period, then the religion of the particular king, then different types of instructions which were given by the kings. Then at the same times we also got the information about various types of grants which were given by the king. Then next point we need to understand it here. We also found such type of inscription on the temple walls as well as stones and what we can say copper plates. So these this is the information about archaeological sources which is given to you here. I hope that you have understood this information, and uh, you might have understood the importance of inscription here. Now let us see. Here it is another point which is given to you here. Numismatic material or coins, they are also considered as an important source for reconstructing history. Here there are some importance of coins which are clearly mentioned to here. You know very well that coins always gives us information about various language and the scripts as well as name of the kings, titles and dates of issue, then place of issue and the emblem of the dynasties. So this type of information we always get it through the coins. Second point, uh, it always provide the information about religious policy of the particular king and the faith of the kings during the medieval period. Third important point, you know very well that by using the coins we can understand uh, the economical condition of the particular king as well as artistic skill of the king, then trade and the financial condition of the king during the medieval society. So that's why in short we have to say here numismatic material that is important to reconstruct the history. Here it is third point, sculptures. Here there are some images which are shown to you here. Through these images we can understand why these sculptures are very important during the medieval society. Here there are some pictures which are shown to you here about the paintings. These paintings are also useful to understand the history. So here is important that is given here. You know very well that we always get information about the growth and development of society as well as cultural history during the medieval society. Then paintings always tell us prevalent customs, traditions, food habits, jewelry as well as dresses of the particular times. You can take the example of Akbar, then Shah Jahan, Humayun. So during the Humayun period, during all these Mughal periods, painting it was just reached at the highest peak of success there. So this is the information which is given to you here about sculptures and paintings. Now we have to understand the last point of archaeological sources. It is nothing but monuments and buildings. You know very well that monuments and buildings are also considered as one of the important parts of archaeological sources. Here there are some images which are shown to you here through this PPT, and through these images we can understand how these monuments were important during that period and this period also. Let us see why these monuments and buildings are important nowadays also. You know very well that South Indian rulers encouraged temple and the buildings. Temple buildings it was just encouraged there during that medieval society. Then these historical monuments tells us some information about the grandeur, archaeological skills, economical influence of the particular state, then cultural and religious beliefs. of the same period. So this is the information about monuments and buildings. So however, we have understood the whole information about archaeological sources. Now we have to understand the information about literary sources. But before going to start the same point, we need to understand this particular activity. Here there are some questions which are given to you here. It is thumbs up activity. So I think that you will have to do this activity at your home and do the practice of the same thing. For example, numismatic material is the study of historical buildings. So you have to say that whether it is true or false. So in the same way, you have to solve all these 6 important questions and try to do the practice at your home. Here it is the, what you can say, examples of literary sources which are mentioned to you here. These literary sources can be used as a source to understand the history. Here you can see it here. Here it is the name of the book which is given to you here, Rajat Rangini. This book was specially composed by Kallans during the medieval society. Then there is also another book which is shown to you here. This book was composed by Ibn Battuta. He was foreign travelers who came here in India during the medieval society. So these books can be used to understand the literary sources of medieval period. Let us see. Here it is the first thing that is mentioned to here. Chronicles are also used to understand the history. A chronicle is a historical records of the events in arranged in a chronological order. So there were some chronicles which were written there during the medieval society, and these chronicles were used as a important source to understand the history. Here there are some examples which are mentioned to here. We can understand here Tabaqat-e-Nasiri. It was just composed by Minhaj-uz-Sirat, and it tells us the history about the Islamic world. Then Tariq-e-Firuz-Shahi, it was composed by Ziauddin Barani, and it tells some information about historical work which narrates the history of Delhi Sultanate. Then we have to understand here another book. It was composed by Kallans, and the name of the book is Rajat Rangini, and it tells us some information about the history of Kashmir. Then there was also another book. It was composed by Abdul Qadir. The name of the book is Muntakhab ut Tariq, and it throws light on the reign of Babur, Humayun and Akbar. Then there was a book, and this book was also composed by Mirza Muhammad Qasim, and the name of the book is Alamgir Nama, and it tells some information about the 10 years of Aurangzeb. So this is the information about chronicles. So by using the chronicles we can understand the history. Here it is another point, autobiographies of some of the great peoples. Here you can see the images of these people. Suppose Firoz Shah, then Jahangir, then Babur, then Gulbadan Begum, Abul Fazl, then Chand Bardai. So these were the people. These people were there during the medieval society, and these people composed their autobiographies and biographies. These autobiographies and biographies were specially used to understand the history. Suppose for example, Chand Bardai was there, and Chand Bardai composed a particular book named Prithviraj Raso, and this book tells us struggle between Rajputs and Muhammad Ghori. Then there was another book, and the name of the book is Humayun Nama, and this book was composed by Gulbadan Begum, and it tells us some information about the Mughal emperor named Jahangir. Then there was also another book, and the name of the book is Ain-e Akbari. So this book was composed by Abul Fazl, and it tells us some information about the reign of Akbar. So this is the information about autobiographies and biographies. Then you know very well that some of the foreigner people, these foreign travelers came here in India, and they composed travelogue. They wrote something else there in their book, and that book is specially known by the name of travelogue. Here you can see the images of these great people. Ibn Battuta was there, then Domingo Paez, Duarte Barbaso, Marco Polo, then Captain William Hawkins. So these were the some great foreign travelers who came here in India, and they observe our country and tried to uh, write something else there in their book. And these books can be used as a resource to understand the history. So this is the information which is given to you here about the account of foreign travelers. Then we need to understand some information about indigenous literature. Indigenous literature means our own literature. This literature was specially composed there in Sanskrit literature, because during the medieval society Sanskrit was the language which was specially used there, and most of the people were there. They compose their poems, they compose some of the books there in Sanskrit language. So this kind of literature is specially known by the name of indigenous literature. I hope that you have understood this. Here there are some examples. These examples are mentioned to you here. Suppose for example Tulsidas Ramcharitmanas, you can take here as an example. It was written there in Sanskrit language during the medieval society. Then apart from this, some of the people were there in different uh, regional languages. They also compose some books there in their own languages, such as Bengali language, Hindi language, Marathi language. So this is the information which is given to you here about indigenous literature. So this is the exit card. You are going to do this activity at your home. I have already shared the PPT of the same things in our group, so I think that you might have gone through it. Let us see the next one. We have to understand the political development. As you know that there were different dynasties uh, which were there in during the medieval society, and these different dynasties were continuously fighting with one another because they wanted to show their supremacy in our country. Suppose for example Pal people, Chol people, Rashtrakutas people, Pratyaras people. So all these dynasties were there during the medieval society, and all these people were continuously fighting with one another there. So therefore the the situation was critical there during the medieval society. It was what we can say turbulence. It was created there in the medieval society. Then apart from this, some of the Persian people, then Arabian people, Mughal rulers, then Delhi Sultanate rulers, they also came here in India and tried to establish their supremacy. So therefore you know very well that the political situation was completely disturbed there during the medieval society. So this is the information which is given to you here, political development. I hope that you have understood this concept. Now let us see social development. You know very well that during that time social development was also done there. Let us see. So there were different types of what you can say castes or subcastes which were developed there in the medieval society. Suppose for example the society which was present there in the medieval society, it was just classified into several different categories, such as some of the aristocrat people were there, then priests, peasants, traders, nobility people, then officers, soldiers. So these were the peoples, and the whole society was classified among these peoples. Then apart from this, some of the subcastes were also developed there in the medieval society. Suppose potters, weavers, goldsmith, musician. So these people were got opportunity to show their skills, and they just what we can say their subcaste that was developed there. Then some tribal communities were there. Apart from this, some of the inhuman practices which were especially going on there in the medieval society. Suppose here there are two examples which are mentioned here: child marriage, Johar and Devdasis. You know very well that during the medieval society there was a tradition. That tradition was especially going on there. Uh, when the children were small, so they had to marry. So this process was going on there, and it was inhuman practices. It was especially going on there. So Devdasi was also tradition, it was also present there. Devdasi means a particular woman has to sacrifice her profane life, and she has to do some do something else for the welfare of the society. She has to serve the, what you can say, gods and goddesses. Then Johar was also the tradition. This tradition was also present there during the medieval society, and this tradition was specially found there in Rajasthan. Especially the women, uh, if their husbands were died, so definitely they had to sacrifice their own life in the fire. So it was the tradition. That tradition was going on there in medieval periods in Rajasthan. So this is the social development. Though the social development was done there during the medieval society, but some of the inhuman practices which were especially going on there in the medieval period. So this is the information which is given to you here about social development. Then economical development. As you know that um, some of the what we can say dynasties were there, and these dynasties were continuously fighting with one another. So therefore the economical condition of these people was very terrible. They did not get a chance to develop their economical condition. So economical condition was very poor there during the medieval society. But at the same time, a little bit development that was done there in the field of irrigations. Persian wheels, it was also introduced there. So irrigation system, it was developed there, and slowly and gradually the economical condition was developed there in the medieval society. So some Persian people, Arabian people, they came here in India, and they introduced agriculture to our people, and the different types of crops production was taken there in the medieval society. Apart from this, religious development was also done there in the medieval society. Suppose for example, some of the moments were emerged there, such as Sufi movement, then Bhakti movement. These movements were emerged there in the medieval society. Apart from this, Sikhism, then Nath Panthis. So these were the religious tradition. It was specially found there during the medieval society. So this is just a synopsis of the lesson named the Revelation of Medieval India. I hope that you have understood this lesson. Still, if you are having doubt, if you don't understand anything else, you can just text your message to me. Thank you very much.